My computer lags sometimes. There we go. All right. So, yep. All right, folks, we're live here. This is another episode of Kicking It with Kickstand. I'm your host, Tyler, and I've got Preston. He's
Hey, what's
here.
up, guys?
So, met Preston. Well, I guess it was right before all this madness hit. So I met him at a game night over at a local friend's house. So, but anyway, so Preston, tell the viewers, how did you get into gaming?
Well, I've been doing, I guess, Warhammer gaming for years now. I guess since I was like 15 years old, and I'm 30 now. So, but yeah, I guess like I started off the whole experience just kind of walking into a Games Workshop store in a mall. And I thought it was a video game store. That's what I was looking for at first. But then I like walked in there and I was like, "Well, these aren't video games, but this is like awesome." And they had all the tables set out with all the terrain and people playing games, and I was just immediately sucked in. And so I've been doing it ever since. And I've been painting professionally now for about 3 years.
Okay. What was your so you said you walked into that Games Workshop store and everything. What I guess like what faction immediately caught your attention?
I think the first thing I bought was a box of skeletons, actually, like just Warhammer Fantasy skeletons, like the old ones that are pretty terrible looking. But for my like 15-year-old self, I thought they were pretty awesome, and I painted them really terribly. I didn't know about washes back then, so I tried like lining in with black paint all the little lines between the bones and stuff on the skeletons. Right. And they looked so terrible, and I was like, man, this is like hard. How do people paint like they look like on the boxes and stuff? And
do you still have that first army?
No, I've gone through so many armies and models now. Like probably the oldest model I have is a 40K orc weird boy, like the metal one.
Right.
That has all the grots like hanging off of them and stuff. And I've still got that one. That's kind of my like example that I like to show people of my most earliest work, even though it's not. But it's still, I've come a long way since then. Everybody's always growing as an artist and stuff. So
right. So you mentioned like I guess you pretty much kind of attempted to start painting right away. As soon as you got into the game, you just went at it and started painting right away.
Yeah, and I had no idea what I was doing. I went to like the hobby store down the street, because in my hometown they didn't have Games Workshop stores back then, really like as spread out as they are now. And so I went to like the train store and I bought like enamel paints, and all this terrible stuff that you're not like supposed to really use on wargaming models. And so I kind of like school of hard knocks, I guess. When I first started out, I was just kind of teaching myself, and it was a real learning process over the years. And I kind of dropped the hobby during I guess my college years. I kind of dipped out a little bit, focused on that kind of stuff in college. And when I moved down to Raleigh, North Carolina in 2016, that's when I got back into it. And I think that's when they first released Age of Sigmar, and that's kind of what drew me back into the hobby, because I was like, I really like the models, but I don't want to spend all the time like learning all these complex rules and stuff. I just kind of want to have fun with the game and throw some dice. And so that's when I kind of started back, painted models for a few years, right. Doing that, picking up a few commission jobs here and there from like, just my buddies at the game store, because I always seemed to be the one out of the group of people that would, buy a model one week and the next week come back with everything painted and ready to go. Because I don't know, I've just got like a thing about, I really like playing the game with painted models.
Yeah, you roll better with painted models.
Yeah,
supposedly.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to help my luck too much. If you ever played a game against me, I'm pretty bad with the dice rolls, but I still like to have fun.
Right. So yeah, I'm a fairly new gamer myself. Actually, I moved here to Waycross about 5 years ago and met some people here. So that's kind of, I guess when someone first asked me, are you into gaming? And I was like, yeah, I'll play video games, and
Right. Yeah.
so, and they're like, no, this is, tabletop games or whatever. And I'm like, well, what's that? But I kind of got into it there, and then my collection is, I guess, slowly built up over those 5 years. Anyway, we got a viewer that says, "Sup, guys?" So
Hey, what's up? How's it
whoever
going?
that is, hello. So, but anyway, so I guess kind of, I know now that you are a commissioned painter, but let's go back some. So have you always had a passion, I guess, a passion for art? How did that?
Oh yeah. Ever since I was a kid, I loved art classes. I was fortunate enough to go to a school that when I was younger that really appreciated that kind of stuff, I guess, like the liberal arts and doing that. So I was really able to kind of foster that kind of artistic growth within myself, I guess, as a kid. And my parents were really supportive of everything about those pursuits. And I ended up going to college for graphic design because at the time I figured, I loved art. I wanted to do art as a living. That's what I wanted to do. And so I was being pragmatic at the time. I was like, everybody was telling me, it's like, if you want to make money as an artist, you should go into graphic design because that's where the money's at and stuff. But since then, I've realized that that's not necessarily the case.
Right.
But yeah, I did. After graduating, I did some graphic design work for a while, mostly freelance stuff, and that's when I moved down to Raleigh, North Carolina, and I moved down here to Waycross about a year ago from there. But yeah, I've been doing art, all my life, and so I also do the graphic design stuff too, still on the side every once in a while, mostly just for friends and stuff, because I've kind of tried to move away from that professionally. I kind of enjoy doing the commission painting a lot more, and so.
Right. Yeah. So art school. Where did you happen to go?
I went to a school up in Virginia called Radford University.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice school up in the mountains there.
Yeah, I actually
really cool campus.
I had I guess a colleague that I know that she actually ended up coaching basketball there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, she was
we had a good basketball team when I was there. So
yeah, she was a graduate assistant at Clemson, like my last year, and then she ended up getting into coaching. So yeah. I can't remember where she's at exactly right now. But yeah, so I know the school. Actually, I applied for a job there too at one point. Yeah, trying after grad school, I was applying anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah.
So
it was a cool school.
Yeah. So when did you realize, I'm good at, I hate to say that again. I don't know the correct term, but I guess when did you realize your painting was at a level, that
you could do it like professionally.
You can do it professionally and be considered, I guess, quote unquote, a pro painter.
Yeah.
Hey, I can get paid for this.
Yeah. And I know that term pro painter is kind of bandied around everywhere. It's kind of doesn't really mean much these days, especially when you go on like eBay or something, you see like everything's quote unquote pro painted, and like technically being a pro painter, that just means that you get paid to paint models. Right. That's really it. And so, one of the things of commission painting, I think that's a bit of a misconception, is there's all kinds of commission painters out there. You don't necessarily have to be like, Sergio Calvatore or like Sam Wentz level of talent, to be a commission painter.
Right.
A lot of my clients I've worked with over the years are great artists themselves. They're just busy people, and so they don't have a lot of time to paint the models that up to the standard that they want to paint them, even though they might be able to accomplish that kind of stuff themselves. They just don't have the time to do it. And that's when commission painters can come in. So I think like anybody can really start out and try it, with your friends,
Right.
Everybody's got their friends that just have the gray armies, just
yes,
that stay gray forever. It's like
shame.
Yeah, you don't have to charge them an arm and a leg or anything. You just like, whatever you think is fair, or you can trade some models for it or something,
Yeah.
But just set up a deal with some buddies and paint some models for them, practice at it, the thing with commission painting, it's like it's definitely not for everybody, because it's hours of sitting there doing painting. So you really have to enjoy it. It takes a special kind of person to really be able to be successful at commission painting, I guess.
Right. And then I know that there's such a wide range of how people may want their minis done. They may just, only care for tabletop, or, what people call tabletop. Or, I wanted it extremely detailed to the finest. And so I know that the price ranges can, vary dramatically, I guess, on that.
Mm-hmm.
So
for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's, for me personally, it's about like time investment, so like the more time I'm going to spend on something, the better it's going to look. And so the more it'll cost just by a time perspective, and I find that's kind of the simplest way to do it. Other people have like level systems where you have like bronze, silver, gold level, and you can kind of pick from one of those levels. But and I've used those kind of systems before in the past, but I feel like each project is kind of its own different thing. And I like to approach each individual client's project as its own unique project. So I can really focus on making it kind of stand out, I guess. And so a level system for me is a little constraining. So I like to, be more like, if this is how you want them, that's how they're going to look, kind of thing.
Right.
And
now, let's just say, so someone wants to do, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. So say someone wants to do, they want to contact you and everything, and they just want a demo mini, or would that be something that you do for them, or?
For sure. Yeah, I'm totally, it's always like a back and forth negotiation with every client, and I'm open to all kinds of ideas with everybody. And I always usually create a test model for a commission before I commit to the full project, and so we'll work out all the details on a single model, go back and forth through emails and stuff, taking pictures, the whole process, until we're both satisfied with, my time investment and the level of detail that the client's looking for. And then I move forward on the rest of the project,
Right. Okay. Now, you've mentioned it, and then, so you used to work for a company called White Metal Games, and they're located in Virginia. How did you?
North Carolina, actually.
Oh, North Carolina. Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, they're down there in Raleigh, North Carolina. So when I was living there, I worked.
How did you find them?
Funnily enough, I found them on Craigslist.
Okay.
And it's kind of an interesting story. I mean, I used to work in retail, like at a print shop when I was living down there in Raleigh. Or I guess up there in Raleigh now because I'm in Georgia.
Yeah.
But I worked at a print shop, and after I left that job, I just kind of like, told myself I never wanted to work in that kind of retail environment again, like the corporate kind of 9 to 5 kind of bull crap, and so that's when I kind of got serious about really trying to be a commission painter, and I kind of started off on my own. And it's hard starting off on your own. Building client base and everything can be really tough. But oddly enough, I found an ad on Craigslist from White Metal Games, and I just reached out to them, showed them my portfolio from my email, then went down there to the guy's house, and at that time he was just working out of his garage. It was still a pretty small business, and I brought a bunch of models that I had painted over and everything. And from there, I just started working there, and it was a pretty interesting time at White Metal Games. I worked there for a couple of years, almost 3 years, I guess. And over that time, we grew from a very small business where it was just me and the owner. I was doing most of the painting. We had a few contract painters as well at the time that worked from home for us too, but we would basically work out of his garage, painting the models for all the clients, sending them out, and then we ended up hiring a couple other people. And the interesting thing is this whole business was like an hourly, like 9 to 5 kind of painting operation. So Monday to Friday, you know, I'd go in and paint models. We ended up hiring a few more employees. The business started growing. We ended up renting out a studio space closer to downtown Raleigh. And so then things got a bit more official. We had, you know, a lot more storage space there. We had actual, like, you know, legit studios set up instead of just like, you know, a garage and everything. We had a whole like bits vault filled with just like all kinds of bits from all kinds of models, from all kinds of ranges. So we could do all these cool conversions and everything.
Right.
It's really great company to work for. And I was kind of first guy there, but also one of the more talented artists on staff. And so I was the art director there for a while. And so I was in charge of, at one time, 5 artists working under me. And so my job consisted of not just painting the models, but also ensuring the consistency of quality across all the artists, doing painting classes with the artists where we all sit down and make sure that all of our styles kind of match up so we can kind of develop this quote unquote studio style.
Right.
You know, and we also had the level systems that we would talk to each other about, you know, what makes a bronze level model and what things to add to it to make a silver level model. We had gold level models, which were higher ends as well. And then like platinum, which was like display level too. And so,
I was on their website earlier, just trying to get a little bit of information. And yeah, like you just talked about the whole, you know, you have a few people that are, you know, maybe working all technically on the same, you know, job, I guess. And I guess that, I mean, to me, that seems pretty difficult, you know, to have 3 or 4 hands all working on the same project.
Yeah, I could see how it could seem that way. But the good thing about our process there at the studio is we developed a certain style that was kind of like a step-by-step process. So really you could kind of pass it off as long as one person did most of a single step. You know, you could pass off the project to the next person to do the next step. And one of the great things about that studio, since we had so many artists working under the same roof, we could all of us work together and focus on like knocking out a whole army in like a week if we needed to. So we would have some clients that were like, you know, oh, I've got a tournament like next week and I need like a 1,500 point like Raven Guard army or something like that. And we're like, okay, we got you, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like that's what all the artists focus on for that week when we all come in and clock in, and you know, and it worked pretty good for a time, you know. But the end of the day, like it was a pretty interesting experiment, I guess, trying the 9 to 5 hourly rate commission painting studio type thing. But at the end of the day, it's just kind of, it's hard to compete with other commission artists that might just be working from home and they're like a single guy, you know, and it's like they can do a similar level of quality of work because they're great artists just like us there at the studio, but they don't have all of the overhead that we have with, you know, like paying all the employees and paying the rents for the studio space and electricity and all that stuff, you know. And the thing about the studio as well is we had me and the 5 artists working there, but we also had at one time like 3 employees that would focus on answering client emails and doing like the digital media and the videos and all that stuff. We would also have somebody that was paid just to do shipping. So they would just like, that's all that they would do. They would come in and package models so they wouldn't break during the shipping process and like, you know, get the postage and everything set up for the packages and ship them out. So it was a pretty big operation with a lot of overhead. And so, you know, what ends up happening in that situation is that we have to charge pretty high prices for the models that we're producing. And
I was looking at the prices and some of it, it was interesting. So
and that's kind of why I ended up leaving at the end of last year. It was just kind of just the reality of the situation. It's, you know, we're just kind of pricing ourselves out of the market, really. And there's still plenty of people out there that need commission work done, but it's hard to, as a buyer and a consumer of that kind of stuff, it's hard to convince yourself to spend the extra money on a product that's basically the same as something you get cheaper. because like I said, we're great artists in the studio, but there's also great commission artists out there that are just solo kind of guys that can afford to charge less because they don't have the overhead,
the other stuff, the other costs that go into it.
Yeah.
So we got some people viewing. So folks, again, just feel free to leave a comment or question if you have a question for Preston. Feel free to ask. But yeah, we're just kind of sitting here hanging out. Trying to get to know him a little bit better. He is back in Waycross now. So I'll let him kind of, if he wants, he can go on and kind of, I guess, pitch himself. Here's his Instagram. So
yeah, if you want to check out my work, probably the best place to look for it there is my Instagram, Preston's Values, where I try to keep pretty active on the Instagram. I'm not like the best at social media. That's one thing as a solo commission guy I'm trying to get better with. But you can check me out there. Please feel free to follow me on Instagram. You can also reach out to me on my Facebook page, just through Facebook here. There's probably a link somewhere that you can click. Yeah. Feel free to send me messages and stuff.
And I've got your email too.
Yeah, my email is another way to reach out to me. That's probably the best way to like get in contact with me about an actual commission. But if you'd like to see examples of my work, Instagram's the place to go. So check that out, guys. But yeah, like I said, each commission's different, each client's different. So I always work together with my clients to try to figure out the best price and the best quality of model for them, so everybody can be happy with what they get. I always try to bring my clients' imaginations to life on the models, like whatever they envision. Again, I'm really good at matching other people's work that's out there. I can do all kinds of different styles of work. So send me, like, if you want to set up a commission with me and you're like, I really like the way that these models are painted, and you send me like a picture of some other models you find on like, Google image search or like Instagram or whatever else, I'd be more than happy to knock up like a test model for you.
Right. So we have a couple people asking, what has been your favorite model or miniature to paint?
Oh, that's a good question. I've painted a lot of miniatures, but recently I've really been enjoying Creature Casters models. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that company.
Yeah, I've heard of them. I haven't looked into them.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. I think it's like creaturecaster.com, or you can just search Creaturecaster on Google. You'll find them pretty easily. But they, I guess, specialize in doing like counts as Warhammer demon models. So they have like a lot of like demon princes and like counts as great unclean ones or Lords of Change or like what have you. And a lot of them are really cool. Yeah, I've also enjoyed painting busts a lot recently. I kind of got into that more within the last year or two here.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because I've seen some of your pictures on Facebook and everything, and it looks like a lot of those more recent ones were bust. So what is like? Is there a difference? How do you attack the bust differently than you would? Like say an orc miniature.
For sure, yeah. And anybody who really enjoys painting miniatures, I'd recommend trying to paint a bust at least and just giving it a shot, because it's a lot of fun. Especially if you're used to painting like wargaming miniatures where you have to paint like squad after squad after squad of guys. Like for anybody, that can get a little bit tedious at a certain point where you're like, oh, I just want to like finish these guys, so I'll just like try to paint these like trim on the shoulder pads as fast as possible so I can just get them on the table and stuff. But when you paint a bust, you really get to kind of just take a step back, and it can be almost a relaxing process because you get to really spend time on just one thing. There's not like another bust that looks basically the same as this guy sitting, in the background waiting to be painted next, like it is when you're painting a squad of guys.
Right.
So you can really take your time and focus on each individual part of the bust, like the skin and the cloth. You can really kind of focus on textures, which is something that you might not want to spend the time doing on like wargaming models. And also wargaming models is like a much smaller scale. So on the bust, you have a larger canvas to work on where you can really try out painting different kinds of textures, which can be a lot of fun and which can be like a next kind of step for a lot of people who really enjoy painting miniatures, is to try painting textures onto the surfaces of things. Because, you know, sometimes the models will be sculpted to have certain textures, especially like fur and like chainmail and stuff like that. But a lot of times you'll get a model that has like a cloth robe and it's just a flat surface on the model. Right. But in reality, cloth isn't just flat like that. It's made up of like, you know, hundreds of strands of fabric. And so you can develop your skill and your techniques actually trying to paint those strands of fabric, or at least paint the illusion that those strands of fabric are
there. Sig and I know he's one that he recently mentioned too, that he wants to try to paint a bust, and I do too. And I actually got I got somebody local to, and I've shown this before, but
nice.
It's Jason Voorhees cool. Bust. So
I've got a bust here I've been working on. I don't know if it'll show up in the picture that well.
Okay.
But this is a Don Quixote bust.
Okay. Yeah. Nice.
And so let's see if I can get it to focus.
Yeah. Let me. I'll put it all on you, and then there we go. So yeah. Yeah.
That's a little bit better.
Okay.
But, cool. This guy, I've been trying out this kind of like non-metallic. My webcam's not wanting to focus. It's like a non-metallic metal using different colors.
Okay.
But, trying to make his armor look super reflecty, you know. Haven't really painted his face yet. Still a work in progress, but
yeah. We have a viewer asking the mini that you most wanted to paint.
Like the one that I most wanted to paint, but I haven't painted yet.
Maybe that's what they're at. Yeah, I guess. Like We'll take it as that.
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. There's a lot of cool ones out there. I mean, there's a lot of great busts that I want to paint that I haven't painted yet. As well as some like one thing I do want to paint more of that I haven't really gotten a chance to paint yet is some larger scale figures. Like I think I see like a comment there talking about like 54 millimeter busts. They also make like full size figures that are like 54 millimeter, 75 millimeter. And those can be pretty cool as well. It's almost like the same kind of thing as a bust, where you just have the one figure, focus, you know, all of your kind of techniques and talents on that, really spend your time on it and have some fun. So
yep. What about the mini you hated the paint?
The mini I hated to paint the most. That's a good question. I don't know, should I say Space Marines? Or I don't know if I hate painting Space Marines, or if it's just like I've painted so many Space Marines at this point that it's almost like I don't ever want to paint another Space Marine. I'm just kidding.
Right.
Space Marines are cool, especially like the new Primaris guys. But I don't know. I've painted so many like old, like people's old like Space Marine collections, like the older school ones that are like, you know, probably seen better days. Just been sitting in people's collections for years, you know, really blocky details and stuff. I guess now that I think about it, I think I'm not a huge fan of the Hero Forge stuff, painting that personally. I just feel like a lot of the details on those models are kind of blocky, at least for my style and my techniques of painting. They don't really seem to work too well on those models. They don't really pick up the shading that I like to kind of do.
Right.
So I think it's just because the processes they use with the 3D painting just don't yield as sharp of details, but I know that they're kind of working on that stuff as well. So, but that's probably like I've painted a bronze, like one of those Hero Forge models that are like cast in bronze, and that thing was pretty dumb to paint because you have to like prime it with this crazy stuff, and like it was weird.
Right. Are there any current projects you're working on?
Yeah, actually.
Other than the Don Quixote?
Yeah, well, that guy's just a personal project for me. But I actually just finished a commission for 4 of those creature caster models that I kind of talked about. And it was kind of like the the 4 horsemen kind of deal, one for each of the chaos gods kind of thing. And so huge, super detailed models. I'll probably have some pictures of that up on my Instagram soon.
Okay.
But yeah, those were a lot of fun. And currently I'm working on a Magnus, the red from Warhammer 40K. Right. And that one's for Spiky Bits, actually. We're doing a promotional video for a studio I do contract work for. Yeah, I guess that's like, if you want to talk more about like doing commission painting and like how to get into it and stuff for people that are interested. One thing I'd recommend is trying to like diversify your sources of clients and income, and that, like when I say that, I mean like types of clients, I guess, because that can be one of the hardest things to do with the commission business, is just like having good clients. Right. Or like finding good clients. It's really easy to find bad clients, like not everybody's the best to work for. Some people are like super picky, some people are great and like, love everything you do. So it could be a struggle to find the good clients. And so I'd recommend like trying to cultivate the good ones and just kind of cut ties with the bad ones. Like after you do one project for them, you can kind of tell pretty easily what kind of a client they'll be. Yeah. And so, I'd say like, instead of just trying to chase, those commission dollars from those crappy clients, I'd say focus time elsewhere on the good clients and just try to foster good relationships with them, because those are the ones that'll keep coming back to you. And also like reaching out to other studios out there, like studios, I do contract painting work for a studio called Stiff Neck Studios. Okay. And we're basically a collective of artists from all over the world, and it's a totally male order kind of commission thing. Unlike White Metal Games, that was like everybody worked under one roof in a single studio. Right. We're like, everywhere. We got artists in England and in Russia and stuff that work with us at Stiff Neck Studios. And so, yeah, like if you think you've got, the kind of dedication that it takes, the chops, I'd definitely recommend like reaching out. And if you want to try the commission painting stuff, like reach out to studios out there, just like search online for the different studios, because a lot of them work this kind of way, where the artists work from home and everything just gets shipped around. So especially like, in this kind of, with everything going on in the world right now, I feel pretty fortunate being able to do this kind of commission work, because like nothing much has really changed for me as far as my work kind of stuff goes, which is nice. And so and so I think like just like reaching out to those studios, one of the main like things to think about is like being able to take good pictures of your models. Investing in like a light box and a good camera. Luckily a lot of people's phones these days have pretty good cameras in them. And so those might get you by, but getting a light box and good lighting is super important to be able to really take good pictures of the models, because without the proper lighting, you won't really be able to see. And one of the interesting things in our hobby is that, like 9 out of 10 people that end up seeing your models are seeing them as pictures on the internet, and so being able to take good pictures, especially as a commission artist, being able to take good pictures of your models is very important, because that's how most people are going to be able to see your models. Unless you go to conventions and stuff and go to the game store. Those are like the only other places people are going to see them. So
by no means am I commission level or anything like that, but obviously there's a group of us that we have little painting challenges and stuff that we do, and we update each other with pictures. And my pictures always, every time I try everything from different lighting angles and everything, mine always seem to be terrible pictures. So
it's hard. It's hard, man.
Yeah, I don't have the light box and all that stuff. But I'm like, guys, this looks way better than what this to me it does. At least. It looks way better than this picture.
No, I know exactly what you mean.
So,
And that's like one of the things, if you're getting into commission painting and stuff, that you probably don't really think about, but like, yeah, like you got to make sure you have the capability to take good pictures of your models.
Right. We have somebody asking, what's the best advice to help novice painters break through their current limitations?
That's a good question. Well, I think like we're all pretty fortunate in this day and age with resources like YouTube and Facebook and that kind of, and Twitch and that kind of stuff, because there's hundreds of artists out there that freely and willingly will help people develop their skills, either by posting like tutorial videos of what they do, or streaming live painting streams. We actually did that for a while at White Metal Games. We like streamed almost every single day of the week. We did giveaways and all that kind of stuff. And so if you guys like watching Twitch, like watching video games and stuff on Twitch, search under like board games and creative section of Twitch, and you can find like just search for like painting Warhammer 40K or like painting models or whatever, and you can find some great artists that stream all the time. And just watching other artists, I think like that's my advice, would just be watching people that are better than you do what they do. That's one of the best ways for me to learn, at least, because I'm a visual learner. But yeah, just like watching videos online of, it's like, oh, I've got this new model, I'm not really sure how to paint the armor in the kind of way I want to. Go on YouTube, search for different ways to paint armor, and you can find all kinds of stuff on there, and there'll be step-by-step guides that can be super useful. And then you can just kind of put all that stuff into your own repertoire as you grow as an artist and develop your own skill and your own style. You kind of pick up the things you like, leave the things you don't like behind. Grow as an artist that way.
And I guess, we, you talked about different, the different kinds of people you come across that want different kinds of, commission work done. So obviously that comes with having a wide variety of, miniatures that you paint.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you tend to, paint more? I mean, what would you prefer painting? If you absolutely had to choose, what, like kind of what setting or theme would you rather paint?
I don't know. I kind of like everything, to be honest, because each genre, I guess, if you want to say that, has their own kind of things going on that you can explore.
Yeah.
Like historical models are their own thing, because you really have to pay attention to the specific colors that things are. Because a lot of, like, I've had clients in the past that do historical gaming, like French Revolution times, like or Civil War times or Revolutionary War times, and it's very like these kind of clients are very particular about even like World War II clients and stuff are very particular about like the specific colors of camo. Back in White Metal Games, we did one project for a client that was like over 400 World War II era battleships.
Wow.
For a game that he was creating himself, which apparently was designed to be played like on a basketball court, basically. That you just empty out and you put all these ships on it, like the ocean or something.
Right.
I didn't get a chance to play, but we painted like so many ships. That was insane. But like each one of those ships had to have like, the historical accurate colors and like camo patterns and stuff. And so that's its own kind of adventure, its own kind of process and kind of fun you can have out of it. Whereas like wargaming models, like Warhammer models, they have all the very nice detail and stuff, the current plastic models, and those are really nice to paint as well for different reasons.
Right.
It's like everything's just fun to paint for different reasons. I guess like if I had to pick one thing, if I could only paint one kind of thing, I'd probably choose busts and like larger scale models, just because you can really, have a lot of fun with just one model and really just kind of spend your time trying out different things.
Yeah. Now, do you find it easier to paint, I guess what material do you enjoy more, you find easier to paint on, like the plastic, resin, or metal?
Oh yeah. I mean, plastic or resin is definitely easier to paint on. Probably plastic being the easiest, I would say. Metal, you got to deal with like chipping concerns and that kind of stuff. A lot of times I'll prime the metal models and then varnish them and then paint them.
Okay.
And then varnish them again, just to like make sure that like the paint doesn't chip off to reveal metal or anything underneath it. And those kind of models can be kind of a pain to paint, because you gotta be really careful when you're handling them, because like, one slip up and you could knock it against something and the paint will chip off and you got to repaint some stuff. And so metal is probably definitely my least favorite thing to paint, just because of those kind of issues. But other than just like the kind of like chipping concerns and stuff, that's really the only thing that sets the different materials apart for me. Other than that, it's basically the same.
Okay. Again, folks, we're sitting here. I'm Tyler. Just got Preston here on an episode of Kicking It with Kickstand. And for those that were kind of curious, I never really touched on it. So the Kickstand, for those that don't know or that are interested and curious, came from high school. So I'm an amputee. Some of you may not know that. So I have a prosthetic leg. And like sitting in class one day, one of my friends, she goes, why do they call you Kickstand? And I was like, who? And she was like, all these other guys, they call you Kickstand. And at first I didn't even know what they were talking like. These people started it without even telling me. So, but I was like, well, I guess it's because I have a fake leg, and then this girl was like, yeah, because it was like in 10th grade or something. I didn't go to the prom, but a girl in my class went, and she was in the limousine, and one of the guys was like, hey, is Kickstand going to be there tonight? And she's like, who are you talking about? And they were like, the guy that goes to your school with one leg, and he's cool. Is he going to be there? And she's like, do you mean Tyler? And he was like, I don't know his name. We just know him as Kickstand. So that's kind of where it started. So, but anyway, and then my wife kind of came up with the name, the Kicking It with Kickstand. So,
I dig it, man. That's a cool name.
Yeah. So it's just kind of to be funny and everything. So for all those that were wondering, that's where it came from. So, but again, if you've got any folks that are watching, if you got any questions or comments, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, guys, and also feel free to hit me up on Facebook if you have any questions about painting at all. I'm more than happy to answer your questions. If you have some models you're working on, you want to send me some like work in progress shots and ask my advice and take a look at them. More than happy to help you out there.
Yep. Here's Preston's Instagram again, folks. And then I'll shoot up his email as well. But yeah, he is on Facebook.
Yep. Feel free to friend me on here and everything like that. I also talk with clients through Facebook Messenger. That's another thing I use all the time. So, but yeah.
Yeah, he's on the Waycross gaming community, so might be easier to find them under that page. So,
but yeah, I also do also offer painting classes. It's a little weird right now with the current everything that's going on, but I do airbrushing classes, so if anybody wants advice, and I've taught these classes all over the country at this point at different conventions, so probably have like over 100 students that I've taught airbrushing to, and I do both beginner and intermediate and advanced airbrushing classes. And so I know like a lot of people are curious about airbrushing models or like thinking about getting into it.
Yeah.
And there's quite a steep learning curve when it comes to airbrush, but like once you get over that initial hump, it's pretty awesome and a lot of fun to use, and you'll never want to go back to just painting models with just the standard paintbrush or whatever.
Yeah,
at least in my opinion. Like I use airbrushing a lot in my techniques, and so I've got these great techniques that I love to teach people that make airbrushing super easy and simple, but also makes your models look super great. And it can help you paint an army really quick as well, which I know a lot of people are interested in, because a lot of people just want to get the models on the table and not have them be gray. So using the airbrush is a great way to just like put color on everything.
Yeah, I keep watching videos. But yeah, right now I'm scared to try the airbrush.
Yeah, it's all good.
And again, and then it's an investment too. I mean,
it is. So. And I, like in my beginner class, I talk about the best ways to kind of buy into the airbrushing and everything. There's a few things I'd recommend getting at first, and I haven't. I've done a few one-on-one classes over Skype and Discord and that kind of stuff. And so if anybody wants to reach out to me for some airbrushing classes, I'd be more than happy to talk to you guys about that. But yeah, it can be a lot of fun. Obviously, you'd have to have your own airbrush set up to do the class distantly like that, which is the only limitation really. Usually I'd be able to bring an extra set for you.
Yeah.
But we could even schedule out some classes in the future. Hopefully when
this is over with.
Yeah, we could meet up and do some airbrushing together, paint some models, even play some games. I'm really looking forward to getting back into playing games.
Right. Yeah. So do you have any, games coming out, or, a game that maybe has been out for a while that you haven't gotten on the table yet?
Like I said earlier, I kind of got back into the hobby with Age of Sigmar. So that's kind of my main gaming thing right now. But I've also got a 40K army. I've got like Warcry stuff.
Okay. Yeah, that's right up some of our guys' wheelhouse. And like, we were playing Sigmar that night. Again, that was like a couple of weeks before everything went to where it is now. Yeah, that
was a lot of fun. So, one thing I really want to try out that I haven't been able to is Mordheim. I think that might be a lot of fun. I don't know if you heard of it. That's like the older version of Warcry, basically. But it's kind of like more like Necromunda, but fantasy version.
Yeah, we got a guy, James Biston. I can't remember if he was there that night or not, but he bought into the Warcry.
I got
he hasn't. Then again, we haven't even gotten it. He hasn't gotten it out and gotten it on the table.
Yeah. So I like board games too. That I've been really enjoying some of like the Cool Mini or Not stuff that's been coming out. Like I got the whole Kickstarter for the Cthulhu Death May Die.
Yeah, I got it. Did you happen to get the 2.5 foot tall?
Oh yeah, okay. I got that. Did you get that?
Well, by the time I was able to get online and get to it was up to $150.
Oof,
and I couldn't justify it. I mean, I think it started at $120.
Yeah, I got it. Like I got the full thing with the Kickstarter.
Yeah,
so I got that. It's still in its box right now. I haven't had a opportunity to paint it right now.
Yeah, I've got I have the base game and all the other exclusives, but yeah, I just couldn't break down and pay that extra $150 just for that giant monstrosity. At $120, I could almost justify it, but not at $150.
Yeah, well, I'm like a huge like H.P. Lovecraft fan. I love tabletop role-playing games too. Like Dungeons and Dragons and Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah,
and that kind of stuff is really up my alley.
I backed Hate too, and Hate, but haven't put it out yet. But those miniatures just look ugly and nasty, but in a good way.
Yeah, me and my girlfriend have played a few games of the Cthulhu Death May Die, and it's a lot of fun. I don't know. Have you had a chance to break it out yet?
No, I haven't. I want to.
Did you ever play the old what was it, like Arkham Horror? I think it was.
I played it like once or twice.
It's kind of like that, but a bit more like it's kind of like the 2.0 version of that, I guess you could say. So it's kind of cool.
We got a guy in our group, Max, who does a Cthulhu RPG. And he's actually been able to do it like online through Zoom or one of those type things.
Like I said, I love that kind of stuff, so I might have to hit him up and see.
Max Loudermill attended?
Probably the biggest one I've attended is Nova up in Northern Virginia, basically, right near DC. And I don't remember if they have canceled it this year or not, but it's usually going to be happening relatively soon from now. So I guess I'm not sure if they've announced anything about that, but that's a pretty good convention. It's not as big as like Adepticon, which I haven't had the pleasure to going to yet. I was hoping to go this year, but unfortunately
it got canceled.
Not happening. Yeah, so which sucks, but hopefully Nova is still going on, and I might be able to head up there. That's they've got like tournaments for all kinds of war games, like Sigmar, 40K, Necromunda, Warcry, all that kind of stuff. And I think they've got the biggest tournament for the Lord of the Rings strategy game that Games Workshop does.
Okay.
And because of that, they've got some really awesome tables set up for that game. Like they've got like one table that looks like the inside of the mines of Moria. They've got one table that looks like like one of the towns in Rohan. It's just like bits of the movies like taken out and recreated on the tabletop for everybody to play on. And so that's
right.
I really like the tournaments just because just walking around and looking at all the armies and the terrain is pretty cool.
Yeah. Sounds like it. I haven't been.
Usually I end up just teaching classes most of the time at those conventions, so I don't get to take part in the tournaments, unfortunately. But.
Right. Yeah, I haven't had the opportunity really to go to one of these big conventions. It's definitely on my to-do list.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, definitely go if you can.
I've been to JekyllCon, and then I went to a con over in Jessup that this guy puts on at Wayne County High School over there. But those are pretty, that one was really small. And then of course JekyllCon is not real big. And then of course, I heard this past year was bad. So I don't know though.
Yeah, I've been to a bunch of I've been to a bunch of smaller cons as well, and they can be a lot of fun, especially if you're going with friends and everything.
Right.
But yeah, if you can make it out to one of the bigger cons, I definitely recommend.
Yeah,
going at least once because they're a whole different experience.
Right.
They're a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think like some of the big ones, it's just such a hard time for me. I'm a coach and teacher. So I think it's like Gen Con is usually like at the end of what is it, like July or like the beginning of August maybe.
Yeah, sounds about right.
See, that's like right when school starts for me. So and then there's another one I think that's like right there in basketball season for me. So but no, I mean I hope to go to one of these bigger ones soon. But well, folks, we've been on almost an hour, and I want to be respectful of Preston's time. So
yeah, that's all good, man. It's been nice. It's been nice talking to me. Thanks for inviting me on here.
Yeah. So we'll see if anybody's got any last questions. If not, we'll just wait a couple more minutes and then we'll let him go.
Yeah, I've actually got a D&D game.
Yeah,
he got it here in an hour.
He's got a game he needs to get to. So we'll go on and wrap things up, folks. And if you want to reach out to him, I'll throw up his Instagram again real quick. You can check out some of his work. There's that. Here's an email for him. And then again, he's on Facebook. There's his full name. So
and just so you guys know, the McManners is just like my fake Facebook last name. My actual name is Preston Bernard. So
okay,
just to avoid any confusion there.
All right,
that's just to fool the CIA or whatever.
Yeah. I got you. Well, again, Preston, man, I appreciate your time. We had I had a lot of fun. I know our viewers did, especially the ones that already kind of know you. Got to know you a little bit more. Hopefully the ones that don't know him, can reach out and look at his stuff. I've seen his stuff firsthand on the table, and he does, a phenomenal job. So, but yeah, if you're interested and you need some work done, reach out to him.
Yeah. Look, any of you local guys, look forward to maybe playing some games when all this craziness is over. We can get back to the tables.
All right, man. Sounds good. Take care, Preston.
Yeah, you too. Have a good
All
one.
right, man. All right, you too. Bye.